Hey adventurers, just a quick loot drop before we dive in. Full video episodes of side quests and save points go up every Monday on YouTube, split into handy parts just like a good set of side quests. But for you, lucky traveller, we are getting the whole adventure right now. No cuts, no checkpoints, just pure questing chaos. Welcome to another episode of Side Quests and Save Points, the podcast where we celebrate RPGs, MMOs, and the side quests we swore we wouldn't get distracted by, but absolutely did anyway. I'm your host, Chef Monkey, and today's episode comes with max stats and a very questionable gear loadout. Joining me today is the one and only Joesephyr, content creator, monster hunter veteran, RPG fanatic, and most recently a freshly minted Pokémon trainer.
Apparently.
That's right, he is now discovering the joys of catching them all, which means he's in that magical place where every Rattata feels like a raid boss and the rest of us is still trying to figure out what type matchup beats Fairy. Adding a love for TCGs, a seat on the Final Fantasy XIV media tour, and enough RPG knowledge to make in-game scholars seem redundant. Not to mention probably more sass than tutorial NPCs. You know this is going to be a fun one. Welcome to your save point. Grab your drink, get comfortable, and let's begin today's side quest. Welcome in. How are you doing today?
Yeah, no, I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, it was just quite the introduction, by the way.
Yep. I got that last time as well. Hopefully I can keep it rolling. It's quite difficult to come up with this stuff.
It sounded good. Keep it going. Love it.
So, I guess let's start off with the obvious. New to Pokemon. Is that new to the games or new to... Did you watch the cartoons growing up?
Honestly, so the Pokemon thing is kind of wild. I didn't grow up with a Game Boy or anything like that. So I'm of the age where the Pokemon craze first kicked off.
Yes.
But I didn't play my first Pokemon game until I was 19, I think. So Pokemon Platinum, I believe, was my first one, which I still have on my shelf over there. Content creation for Pokemon kind of came out of nowhere for me. Up until very recently, was very much well known as a Final Fantasy and RPG creator, somebody who has sort of different insights on RPGs because I have worked in the industry alongside RPGs, because once upon a time I actually worked for Square Enix as a community manager. I have a lot of experience with their mobile titles, like Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia was the game I was most well known for at the time. And so, as things sort of changed and times changed and we came out of COVID, etc., things sort of, you have to go with the flow. I have, as you say, I have a history with TCGs and such. And so the Pokemon TCG Pocket game came out October, I think, 24. And I thought, all right, I've never done TikTok before. I've never done that kind of coverage before, but I used to do coverage for the Final Fantasy trading card game. So I thought, oh, well, maybe I can kind of put the different facets of my knowledge together. And yeah, it kind of blew up. And then I realized I'm not nearly as knowledgeable about Pokemon as I am about other RPGs. Although, weirdly, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but people get really funny about calling Pokemon a JRPG when last I checked, it absolutely is one.
Yep. That is something that I will be covering quite in depth in our next episode, but we'll get onto that.
There you go.
Yeah. No, I've got quite the opportunity coming up. So
excellent.
But yeah, no, I completely agree. It is an RPG. It is Japanese, therefore it is a JRPG.
I've gone into so much argument with people about what is a JRPG. To me, it's the same argument as people who say that Black Myth Wukong isn't a Souls-like. If it looks like a duck, it talks like a duck, and it walks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Yep, or a very good Mockingbird.
Yeah. Well, the exact pinpointed conversation I had, and this was on a video I made on YouTube a little while ago, was that people got really annoyed at me for saying that Honkai Star Rail was a JRPG. But in the same video, I mentioned Sea of Stars. I think it was a video to recommending or not recommending JRPGs to beginners or people who hadn't played that kind of genre before. And they got really angry with me saying that Honkai Star Rail isn't a JRPG because it's Chinese, it's not Japanese. I was like, okay, Sea of Stars is Canadian.
Yep.
But you haven't got a problem with that. So where's the distinction?
Yeah, there's quite a few that still known as JRPGs, even though they're not out of Japan. I think these days, I think it shouldn't be used exclusively as RPGs out of Japan. I think JRPGs is its own genre within the RPG.
I think that the idea of genre is for the purposes of classification. So, for example, if I'd not met somebody before and they tell me they like Final Fantasy X, I can then go, this person will probably like Dragon Quest VIII because it is a similar style of game.
Yes.
But then the argument then comes, but then Final Fantasy 16 is nothing like Final Fantasy 10. So would they still like it? So it's a very nuanced conversation that I don't know. Like it's the whole idea of genre, I think, has been turned on its head. And I actually think the term JRPG is a bit outdated.
Yeah,
in its own way.
because I wouldn't class 16 as a JRPG. I'd class it as an ARPG because that's what it is.
But then how different are those things really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
What do you think Kingdom Hearts is?
ARPG.
You were going to say JRPG.
I was, but you made me think about it.
You were going to say JRPG, but it's more action heavy than FF16 is.
Yep.
It's got platforming in it.
So
that's
bizarre.
what I mean. Like, these distinctions don't actually make any sense.
I suppose it's the same as music, because there is a subgenre of metal called Viking metal. But it'd be the same argument saying, well, that's not Viking metal, they're not real Vikings.
Yeah, it's like, it's the feel, the image that it conjures, I think, is what the classifications are supposed to mean, but I don't think that's what most people take them as now. But yeah, so like with Pokemon being a JRPG, I don't understand how people can not think it's one, because people will say, but it's a monster collector, but then they'll say Dragon Quest Monsters is a JRPG. It's like, they're literally the same thing. There's
another one. Is it Monster Quest, I want to say?
I don't know that one off the top of my head.
It's quite an old one. Let me pull it up.
I mean, monster collectors have been in RPGs for eons anyway. Like Dragon Quest V or 3 even has monster collection in it. Although, well, the HD2D version of Dragon Quest III has it. I think that's to bring it in line with the spin-off series. But I love Dragon Quest. I actually played Dragon Quest Monsters long before I played Pokemon.
Fair enough.
On an emulator, because I wanted to try Dragon Quest Monsters, and I actually still love that game to this day. And I'm very, very sad that we never got Terry's Wonderland over in the...
Yeah, I can't see the name of this from a quick Google, so if I find it, I'll put a link in the description. It is like... You're talking SNES old. It's like 16-bit kind of deal. But yeah. So which games have you actually currently played through? I know you've just completed it.
Pokemon?
Is it Crystal? You've just completed on stream, isn't it?
The only Pokemon games I hadn't played up until this point, at least in the what you'd call the mainline series, I guess, are the first 3 generations. But I played Pokemon Red last year, and I've just finished Pokemon Crystal, and I have a copy of Emerald that I'm going to play next, and then. Like I can't say I don't know Pokemon, because I do, but I don't have the same heritage and nostalgia for it that a lot of people do, which I think gives me quite a unique
perspective
outlook on it.
Yeah.
Because I say that. I played through Generations 1 and 2, and I had a really good time. Like, these games are 20 to 30 years old.
They
still work well.
As far as the community is concerned on a whole, I still believe that Gen 2 comes out as being the best gen in public opinion.
I like Gen 1 more than 2.
See, I think a lot of people like Gen 2 more than Gen 1 purely because the fact that Gen 1 was included in Gen 2. It's the only... Ish. It's still the only game, as far as I can recall, that you get to visit 2 locations.
But I think that... I mean, I did... When I played through it, I sat there and I thought, when people were kids, their minds must have been blown by this. But I'm a mid-30-something-year-old man, so I'm sitting there playing it going, okay, this has taken an hour. Like, what's the big deal? So I'm like, maybe there's an element of being jaded about it, but I definitely respected how big a deal that was. Certainly at the time, because there's so much put into that little cartridge. And I think that's true with a lot of RPGs, even outside of Pokemon. Like, you look at some of the Final Fantasy games, like on the Super Nintendo, or even the NES or the Game Boy. There's so much packed into those little cartridges. It's really extraordinary.
Golden Sun's another one where they love that game so much, but they had to split it into 2 games because they couldn't fit everything they wanted to in the first cartridge.
Yeah, no, I loved it. Lost Age. We don't talk about Dark Dawn. I mean, I say that. I don't think Dark Dawn was that bad.
No, but it just didn't...
It wasn't as good as the other 2, but it wasn't that bad.
I think if again, it comes with the problem of releasing a game tied to an IP. If they'd released that, like, changed everything, like the names and all that sort of stuff, and released it as its own IP and its own standalone game, I think it would have done better than being tied to the Golden Sun name.
Yeah. Do I agree with that? Because they do try and bring in characters from the first 2.
Yeah, but
I suppose they didn't need to do that.
Mm.
Yeah, no, do you know what? Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah.
It's not the first game that's done that, and it won't be the last.
It's one of many, many games I would like to see come back in with the HD 2D treatment, because I think every game should be made that way. Like, after Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy, Dragon Quest III Remake, all of it, I just sat around like, every game should be made like this. If they ever remake Final Fantasy VI, I don't want an FF7 remake treatment. I want that.
Yeah, even with the pixel remasters have still been a massive upgrade to what they were previously.
Yeah. People really don't like the pixel remasters though, because of the fact that they're missing the content from the GBA versions, which I get, because I don't understand why you would just decide to cut them back out.
Yep.
So I do understand that. We hate it when so many of these games will release definitive versions of these games, but they're not
definitive.
They're missing stuff from the previous one. It's like, okay, but they're not definitive because the other one still has stuff that this one doesn't have.
Yes.
So could we not have brought that in as well? But it is what it is. Still loved it.
Yeah. I think it's... What am I trying to say here? It's a lot different with those as well, because you've obviously got the 3D remakes as well.
Well, for 3 and 4?
For 3 and 4.
I definitely had a much more fond appreciation of 3 with the pixel remasters, because I personally think that 3 is the weakest Final Fantasy, not 2. A lot of people think that 2 is the weakest Final Fantasy, but I think
enjoyed
it's just 2.
I really enjoyed 2.
2. It's obnoxious, it's busted as heck, but I like 2 for the same reason I like 8, because of those things. I like the fact that I can break the game in half if I want to, but 3 just doesn't have a lot of leeway in the things that you can really explore. 90% of the jobs don't do anything. And it's, people like to talk about linearity being a bad thing in video games, but 3 felt linear more than even like 10 and 13 did. To me.
Yeah. And let's be honest, Final Fantasy VIII, the main story quest was actually Zell's quest for hot dogs.
Right. No, I could tell you so much about Final Fantasy VIII now, because I do a lot of work with Final Fantasy Union.
Yes.
If anyone has watched their recent video on the complete timeline of Final Fantasy VIII, I edited that video, all of those videos. So honestly, you could probably ask me about any character in that game's like birthmarks, and I'd be able to tell you what they were.
I saw a funny meme, and I'm sure you've seen it, diving into Final Fantasy stuff about selfie, inventing the selfie before selfies existed.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, I think I might have seen that.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with memes, though. I'm like the worst. People will tell me a really, really popular meme, and I'm like, what? Again, old man. But I think that 8 has had a real renaissance in people saying that they really enjoy it. Although I feel like there are a lot of Final Fantasies that come in and out of vogue as to whether it's cool to hate them or cool to love them.
Yeah.
7, 8, and 9 seem to go in this weird cyclical pattern where, like a rock, paper, scissors thing, where it's cool to hate 7, but cool to love 9. But no, too many people love 9 now, so now we love 8.
You're not wrong.
And now 8's gotten too popular, so now we've cycled back to 7 again. And I'm like, can you not just like them all? They're all good. I
haven't found a single Final Fantasy I haven't enjoyed.
I have.
I haven't played them all. But out of the ones I have played, I haven't found one I haven't actually enjoyed yet. I would say the one that I've enjoyed the least, and albeit I still haven't completed it, is World of.
Well, yeah, World. People love it, and they're allowed to.
I would like it a bit more if it wasn't for the annoying voice that's helping you along the way. Armor.
Well, I mean, Lan doesn't help either.
No, but...
You want grindy? Oh, good God, it's grindy. It also doesn't explain its mechanics very well.
No.
I think there's a lot of positive things to have about World. It is very charming, and the way that the legacy characters are introduced is really good. The mini games are the worst I've ever played in a Final Fantasy. If anyone's ever done the Tidus riding on Valor 4 Blitzball mini game, that is broken and not in a good way. You'll know what I'm talking about. Like, the mini games in that game just don't work.
No.
But yeah, no, World is one of my least favorites. I've still finished it. I've still platinum trophied it, which is terrible. But I'm trying to think of a Final Fantasy I didn't. Oh, actually, yeah, no, I can think of one, and this is possibly a really hot take. Dawn Trail.
I can see that.
I really slogged through Dawn Trail, and it.
Yeah, I think
I haven't played 14 since I finished Dawn Trail's MSQ.
Yeah, so I had pretty much the same conversation with Rin, and he said the thing that he didn't like about Drawn Trail the most, and I'll take his word on the timing for this because I haven't timed it. He said on average it takes 3 hours to get into your first combat if you don't go and seek some out.
I am getting tired with modern RPGs, and this isn't just restricted to Final Fantasy, but a lot of games fall into this trap. If I wanted a movie, I'd watch one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel that not enough games, certainly RPGs, I don't think enough of them use the media of video games to tell their stories well enough. Like, maybe this is weird as a JRPG fan, but the more you onslaught me with cutscenes, reams of dialogue, the quicker I am to check out of it. When you look back at your Chrono Triggers, your Final Fantasy VIs, the real classic RPGs, except maybe Sellers' opera scene, not one cutscene in those games is longer than 5 minutes long. You are playing a game still, and they can still tell a magnificent story despite not needing to have exposition that lasts half an hour on every cutscene. And I think as time has gone on, I blame Metal Gear Solid for this. I think as time has gone on, people have latched onto these cutscene movies so much, whereas I am somebody that's very keen on game mechanics and progression systems and how the characters interact through a gameplay perspective and how the story is told without being told, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Games that spring to mind are like BioShock, Journey, games that tell you a story without barking it at you. And Dawn Trail, I think, went so far in the other direction where the game was 85% cutscene,
Yeah.
15% game, to the point where I got to the end of the story and I'm like, I just don't want to play this now. Like, and that's ironically the bit where the game opens up and you're supposed to go out and do your raids, do your extreme trials and stuff like that. But by that point, I just stopped caring. I don't think it's anything to do with the writing or, a lot of people threw a lot of hate at like the voice acting and stuff like that. And I think that was completely unnecessary and not
100%.
right. It's just the way the game is paced was just wrong on every level. You compare that to Shadowbringers, and that had a balance that worked. It was still cutscene heavy, but it didn't feel like...
But the cutscenes made you give a shit in that one.
They were impactful. I don't want to watch Grahatir eating a burger. I don't care. But a lot of people do. And the vocal minority does. So I do understand why it's gone in that direction. I just think it's gone too far in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, I was in a similar boat. I stopped playing after the MSQ completed. Came back for the nostalgia hit with the Echoes of Vana'diel raid. Mm-hmm. I'm now waiting for the next set.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's kind of a bad thing when you're paying a recurring subscription.
Yeah.
I think to walk away from a game is a good thing, because to quote like the classic cliche, you don't know how much you like something till it's not there.
Yeah. I mean, when I play games, I tend to go in like phases. And like, I will go through a Final Fantasy XIV phase where I just play it every single day and I'm doing everything under the sun.
Yeah, and I fully expect that will come back to me again at some point. It's just not there right now, and I'm exploring other things. Like Monster Hunter, as you said, Monster Hunter is actually a very good example of what I'm talking about, because it's very gameplay focused and has, okay, I won't call it a JRPG, but it has a lot of the same qualities that someone who likes JRPGs would enjoy.
Yeah, but at the same,
it's more focused on just the gameplay, the challenge. Like when I think of classic JRPGs like FF10, my favorite memory is like the Dark Aeons, the super bosses.
Yes.
Challenge me. Give me a reason to be powerful.
But yeah, that's what I like about Monster Hunter as well. There's not cutscenes for the sake of cutscenes.
I mean, Wilds, there is a bit.
Yeah, like if they want to show off the characters, they'll put in a cutscene. But a lot of it is voice dialogue in gameplay mode.
Yeah. And I wish that we had more of that as well. And I think that I know I keep using FF6 as the example here because I genuinely think it's the best
a good example. Keep using it.
So many of the story beats are done in combat scenarios, like when General Leo's like trying to fend off Kefka, or when Terra's up with Valagamanda. there's all those little bits, but they're all done in gameplay-esque scenarios. So it kind of just merges the medium together. And I really like that. And I think that that's been lost a little bit.
So what would you say outside of Final Fantasy? Let's just go for like peak era for RPGs.
PS1.
PS1. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit more biased to Gen. I don't know if we can even call it Gen 2, but PlayStation 2, because I am so biased towards Dark Cloud. But you know that we've had that conversation before.
Dark Cloud, Dark Chronicle, I love them too.
Yep.
I do. But my favorite, yeah, go on.
And I don't know if you've played this one, but the Jade Cocoon series, Jade Cocoon 2.
Oh my God, I haven't heard that name in years. Yep. Jade Cocoon. I only ever played the first one, which was PS1.
Yes, it was. The second one was PS.
I played the first one. That is the one where you merge the monsters together and you breed them and they come out looking like weird amorphous blobs. Yep. My brother was obsessed with that when we were kids.
Yeah, it was Pokemon before Pokemon. I say that. I don't know if it actually came out before, but it was definitely around the same time. Jade Cocoon.
I'm curious now. This is going to age me really badly.
No, it was after 88. 1998 for the original.
98. So, oh God, I would have been 10 years old when that game came out.
Same.
Crikey.
Same.
I didn't realise we were the same age. Fair enough. 88 babies.
It's the way.
So you could tell that we're the era of RPGs we grew up with then.
This is one thing I did not know about it, just giving it a quick Google. It was developed by Genki in collaboration with Katsuya Kondo, who is the character designer for Studio Ghibli.
That's cool. Little factoids.
One of the character designers.
Love it. Because I think that the most underrated... See, this is another one. I say it's underrated, and then I'll say it, and people are like, no, it's not. It's overrated. Vagrant Story.
Yeah.
Not enough people talk about that game.
Not enough people talk about that game. It didn't go under the radar because it is a well-known title, but it's underrated in the appreciation that it gets mainstream.
See, I find it's the opposite. Whenever I bring it up when I'm like on stream or in videos, people go, what's that? But anyone who I know who has heard of it thinks it's the best thing that's ever been made. And they're correct. So I have the opposite problem. But writing-wise, I think the Ivalice storylines are the best ones. And Vagrant Story is like an offshoot of that because it's the same team that wrote it. It's the same art developers. It's the same team behind the entire thing. Those guys write Shakespeare. I mean, the Vagrant Story, they do it literally because Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are in it.
Yeah.
So. But you can tell where they get their classical inspirations from, and I really do value that because it feels more grounded. Like it's all political intrigue. It's I don't know, Game of Thrones before it went off the rails.
Yes, but that's what I do like about Square Enix's games in general, specifically the Final Fantasy ones, is they take a lot of their inspiration from real-world lore, real-world mythology, and then they just put their own twist on it.
No, I do. I think
Obviously,
so too. But
Odin is from Norse mythology, but Odin in Final Fantasy is not Norse, even though it shares a lot of the same traits. They've made it their own, but still...
Yeah. Well, I mean, they draw all of their inspirations from all pantheons, don't they? So when you think of Ifrit, Shiva, Rama, that's all Hindu mythology. Bahamut as well. Bahamut's originally a fish. Bahamut's not a dragon, it's a fish.
So that just makes the jump from Magikarp to Gyarados.
Sure. I think that's meant to be like Japanese koi fish things. But again, I'm new with the Pokemon lore. Things go over my head with Pokemon that don't with FF.
Yeah, I don't think Pokemon lore is... Obviously, they're based on certain things, but I don't think it's as in-depth as Final Fantasy by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm sure fan theories run wild.
So when it comes to lore diving and things like that, I think that there are a lot of places for it, and JRPG fans as a whole love to do it, and I understand it. But I am a huge Alice in Wonderland fan, and this is relevant, I promise. Huge Wonderland fan, and the reason I've gravitated so much towards that particular world is Alice in Wonderland is one of the most revered scriptures in history, and it makes no sense. Like, it was written by a guy who was very high on opium the entire time.
What gave that away?
And nothing in it makes sense. It's not supposed to, but people cannot help but try and explain everything about it. So the riddle, why is a raven like a writing desk? It doesn't have an answer. It's written for no reason. But people have dedicated their entire lives to trying to work out why is a raven like a writing desk. And the same is true when it comes to video game stuff.
100%.
Like JRPGs. People will look for butterfly effects where there are none. Which is why I've come to sort of, I used to be that guy. I mean, I was a Kingdom Hearts fan once. We all did it.
Yeah.
We've all been there. But as I've gotten older, I've gotten to a point now where I'm like, just let it be what it is. And when things start to come out, like certainly with the FF7 remake trilogy, like a breeze has gone past Aerith's left ear. That means the world's going to end. It gets to that point. I'm like, or we could just wait till part 3 comes out
and find out what everything actually is. Yeah.
So that's where I'm at when it comes to story basis, with not just Final Fantasy or JRPGs, but video games in general. But I'm sure people will tell me that I'm being vapid and, it's only skin deep, but I have reasons behind it.
Yeah. So, speaking of remakes, there has been rumors for quite a long time that 9 is getting not the same treatment as 7, but like an upscaled version of the game.
If it ever happens, I will burst into tears.
Like everyone was pointing fingers at Alexandria being included in Dawn Trail as signs for things to come. A lot of people are pointing fingers to, I've got to get this right because there are 2 of them and I need to make sure it's the right one. The graphical mod on 9 that's been done.
Yuri.
Yep, that one, as it's been done as a concept. People are saying that has generated a lot of noise.
The Memoria project.
Yes, that one.
That's the one you're talking about.
Memoria project.
Yep.
And then, obviously, like you said, the other one that is just a mod for the Steam game. But the Memoria project seems to have generated a lot of hype around it. Do you think things like that, obviously treading carefully on copyright infringement, all that sort of stuff, but do you think that helps developers know what their audience actually want? And do they actually listen?
It's hard to say because I think that there is no black and white answer to that. I think certain developers will see these things, certain ones won't. Certain developers will see it as a boon for them. Certain ones will see it as a detractor. I think that there's too many factors to really give an answer or any kind of conjecture to something like that because everybody works differently.
Yes.
But I think that 9... even having rumors, I mean, don't give me hope like that. It's my favorite game.
Yep.
It's one of my favorite games ever. And easily my favorite Final Fantasy. And I don't do reaction videos or anything like that, really. But if they ever announce that, you will see a grown man cry.
My only prayer, if they do it, is they stick with turn-based combat for that one.
Same. And they don't mess about with the story.
No.
Because I'm not a fan of what they've done with 7s.
I've yet to complete Rebirth. I've just got to Gorgana. No, I've just got out of Gorgana Jungle.
Okay. When you finish it, I would suggest not talking to me.
But yeah, so little known facts, but given your history with RPGs, you're probably one of the few people that seem to know this. Did you know that Final Fantasy IX was 2-player?
Yes.
Yeah.
I played it 2-player as a kid with my brother.
Yep. Man, so many people are surprised when I tell them that.
Yep, completely useless.
It was still good fun.
Didn't really do anything, but yeah, we still did it. But we were kids, it didn't have to be anything grandiose.
No.
It was just like, if I remember it rightly, it was you selected which characters were played by which person.
In battle, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that was it. It was just 2-player combat.
Cute idea. Chuck it in there.
It worked.
Why not?
Stopped me and my brother arguing over who was playing because we were both playing, even though it was only one of us for the most part.
Yeah. No, it's the irony is my brother is not a Final Fantasy fan in the slightest, and then I obviously developed into a big one. So, we went both ways. But no, I love 9. I love everything about 9. I think it has the best cast of characters. I think it has the purest form of what a JRPG represented at that point in time, and I would love to see it make a resurgence because if it did well, if Final Fantasy IX got the right amount of buzz behind it, if they ever did remake it and it sold well, it could put Final Fantasy back on the path that a lot of people want it to be on.
The fantasy path.
No, I mean the turn-based path.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, because 16 is pretty
Oh,
purely fantasy, but 16 is such a controversial game for Final Fantasy fans.
yeah.
I liked it.
Well, it
I didn't
had,
love it, but I liked it.
if I remember my facts correctly, it had Devil May Cry 5's combat director.
Yeah, but who also said, "Oh, it's the best combat mechanics I've ever made." I'm like, girl, you made Devil May Cry 3. Shut up and sit down.
But yeah, I believe there was also rumors. I don't know if it came to fruition. I haven't looked at this in quite a while, but they were going to make a Final Fantasy IX anime, for lack of a better word, cartoon.
They did. They announced that a while ago, and no one's heard anything about it since. So my only assumption is that they're quietly sweeping it under the rug because it got cancelled.
That's the thing. When you say something like that to the people who love Nine, we will not forget it until it materializes.
Exactly. But I don't think it's going to happen. If it does, I'd love to be wrong. I would love to be
100%.
But I'm also not sure. I never trust these, or I never used to trust these adaptations till Castlevania happened. Because my unsung love of video games is Castlevania, which I never get to talk about because no one ever cares. But the adaptation they did for that was flawless. I've got a little more hope now that they'd get it right than I would have done before having watched that.
Well, there's always Netflix as well. They seem to be picking up a lot of things and turning cancelled series into the series they were supposed to be. Don't get me wrong, they've missed a few times, but the ones they've hit on, they've hit out the park.
They've got a Devil May Cry one coming out.
They've got a Devil May Cry one. They're obviously responsible for the Seven Deadly Sins anime adaptation, but Lucifer obviously got cancelled, picked up by Netflix.
God, yeah.
Turned into what it should have been.
Yeah. I mean, I loved that show. I did love that.
Me and my wife are watching it at the moment, and we are, I want to say we're either at the end of season 1 or we're starting season 2.
Yeah. No, it's, see, I can't say anything because you're only halfway in it, and I've watched all of it, so I won't say a word, but it's good.
Yeah. Just jumping back to Final Fantasy 16, you were present for the media tour. Was that the whole media tour you were a part of, or was it certain dates?
Yes. Well, I got to preview the game at the Tower of London because there was this massive thing that they did for its release for like a preview, creators, press, that kind of thing, and we all got to go to that, and we played what ended up becoming the demo for Final Fantasy 16, like in the Tower of London, which is extremely extra, and I love it. But Yoshi P and Koji Fox came out, gave us like a speech on what we were going to expect and what we were going to do. And I had, it was a funny story, actually, because as I said, I used to work at Square Enix, but I didn't play 14 at the time.
Yep.
So I didn't know who Yoshi P was. So it turns out, apparently, at some point or another, I had been in a room with him and not known it because I'm the kind of person that it's like, I can play the game when it becomes available. I've got plenty of time to do that. I'm going to get up and just say thank you to Yoshi P and Koji Fox for inviting me, for having us all here. And he said hello as if he knew me. And I'm like, oh, this is
awkward.
Strange. And then one of the staff members who I used to work with came and introduced me to him. And he's like, oh, I think we've seen each other before. But apparently he's very good with stuff like that. Like at fan fests and such, he like remembers people. I think you actually told me the story. But he remembers people that he's only interacted with once. Like he very, very clearly cares about what he does. And it was an extraordinary thing to be a part of. And, the voice cast I've gotten to know very well over the course of the last few years. And they're very good at what they do. And we all went out to a drag show a couple of years ago.
Fair enough.
I ended up doing all their makeup because I used to be a makeup artist before I was in content creation. That was a fun night. So it was, it was just a really good time. It was just a really nice time. And, being able to play the game. And if you've played FF16 and you've played those opening 2 hours, you're like, oh my God.
Yep.
Like,
my ears, I want to say they won't get over. Like, I enjoy it so much hearing a Sid that is Yorkshire.
Good old Ralph Ineson.
That's where I'm based now in Yorkshire. So it's weird hearing something in a video game that I hear in my everyday life.
Yeah. But those first 2 hours were absolutely phenomenal. And I walked away from that thinking, if this is what the rest of the game is like, this is something else. Of course, it wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I really, it was an extraordinary experience because I'd never been a part of anything like that before as a content creator. And, I was very lucky to be there. And, well, the other creators and we all went to like a pub afterwards. And one of the things I'm most proud of as a person is I love talking to anyone and everybody. It's the thing I get the most joy from in life. So just getting everybody together for photographs, creators that I'd met from previous experiences, obviously the voice acting cast and everyone like staff from Square Enix, etc. Just having everybody all in the same place was just really lovely. It was just a nice culmination of the efforts I put in up to that point.
Leading on from the media tour, you obviously got to meet a lot of wonderful people. You said creators were there, voice cast were there. You said you all went out to a drag show recently. Was that the creators as well, just the cast?
There were some creators there with us, yeah. How that came about was Nina, who plays Benedicta in 16. Like, she saw some of my work as an artist beforehand, because we also did a thing where they had a replica of Clive's sword, the Invictus, in the Tower of London, and we all did like a photo shooty type thing with that. And I ended up talking to Nina about it, and I said, "Oh, I used to be a makeup artist." She's like, "Oh, would you do mine? We've got this event coming up." And I went, "Oh, what, the Slay Station, the drag show? Yeah, no, I'm going to that as well." So, well, do you want to meet up beforehand and do my makeup? And I was like, "Yeah, no, that'd be great. I could do that." So we met up and we did that, and then we get to the event, and like before we all go into the show itself, and then people start asking, and then they're like, "Oh, did you do Nina's makeup? Can you do mine?" So it turns out that I'm sitting in this pub doing people's makeup. Like, I'm like, okay, right, I should be getting paid for this. But it was fun. It was good fun. It was a really good night. I actually did my own makeup. I'll send you a picture of it and you can put it on the screen or what have you, where I was inspired by a fashion collection that was done in collaboration with FF16.
Yeah.
Where he was wearing a like jacket that had blue and purple like beading in the shape of lightning bolts to be Ramu. Essentially. So I painted a jacket to do that and then continued the lightning bolts onto my face and stuff like that, so that it was like a costumey, fashiony thing. It was really good fun.
Yeah. So you said that you opted not to play the demo whilst it was there because you wanted to like go.
Oh, no, I did play it. It's just like when everyone ran off to go and play it, I thought, oh, I can do that in a second.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense.
I'm showing great gratitude for being there first.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. So when everyone else was playing the demo, what sort of reactions were there coming out of that?
Tears. People were in tears, like, because that opening is dynamic.
100%.
I sat there like, so when did the demo end? Scared of doing spoilers now in case people haven't played 16, but we're talking about the first couple of hours.
Yeah.
It's when Ifrit kills Phoenix is when it like ends. So when that happens and you're like, he's just killed a child. I was sat there with my mouth open going, okay, this is new. And I wish it had kept that tone throughout the rest of the game, because I think that Annabella, Clive's mother,
yes,
could have been the best villain they've had in years.
I hated her so much.
So wasted in the rest of that game. Because you come out of that demo, those opening hours, you hate her. You actually hate her.
Yep.
And you want bad things to happen to her.
But
that is the hallmark of a good villain.
If I'm correct, it just ended in her story ended in a cutscene.
Yeah. But it's like, I wasn't expecting to fight her.
No, but
I would have liked a little bit something more ceremonious than what happened. Like, you don't see her for like 70% of the game. And then she's kind of like, okay, oh, she's dead now. All right, moving on. You're like, oh, fair enough.
That's not exactly the same fate, and we'll circle back to Final Fantasy in a second, but it's just reminded me of World of Warcraft. So throughout the whole of Mists of Pandaria expansion, Garrosh is the big bad.
Right. I've never played WoW.
Yeah, so Garrosh is the big bad. He's leader of the Horde, and every little thing he does, he's making you hate him. Similar situation. He's the end boss of the expansion, and he escapes with his life, and then through a singular cutscene in the next expansion, he gets killed just in a cutscene with one of the other main characters, not the player character. You're not involved in his death in the slightest, and it's a very weak payoff to a very good villain.
No, that's a shame. That's a shame. I think that a lot of these stories are carried by the villains, though.
Yes.
I really do. It's why everyone loves 7, although I think they're kind of killing off Sephiroth without meaning to.
Yeah.
Hot take again, I don't think Crisis Core is very good.
That is one I have yet to play. It's on my list.
People love it. Don't take my word for it.
No, like I said, I have not found a
Don't
Final
take my
Fantasy
word
game
for
I
it.
haven't enjoyed in some aspect.
I think that there are aspects of Crisis Core that are really good. Like, I think Zack is a great character.
Yes.
And I think that all of the parts that are from Final Fantasy VII are really good. Everything after 7 dilutes Sephiroth's character really badly. And I feel that because in 7, I liken Sephiroth to the alien, like from the Alien movies.
Yes.
One of my favorite movies. The power of those characters is when they're not on the screen, because you feel their presence even though they're not there. Sephiroth, certainly, you've played Remake,
Yes.
not Rebirth.
Yes.
Sephiroth, I get why they had to do it, because you couldn't really sell Remake without Sephiroth, really. But him turning up within the first 5 minutes of the game, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
There's a power in lack of presence, but having a presence, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
when a character's presence is felt when they're not there, you know you've got a good character. You don't have it comes back to the like shoving things down our throats thing again. It's like you don't have to be on the screen all the time to feel powerful.
So I see what you're saying. They sort of did that again, not quite, because he was shown on screen. Is when Cloud was going through Midgar being chased by Sephiroth, who wasn't really there.
What, in Remake?
Yes.
I think that I understand why it's done that way, and I think that it's in order for new players to come in and go,
100%.
Right, I get it. I just don't like it.
No.
But I'm sure a lot of people do. So
But
I'm not devaluing that from anybody else, but like that's my take on.
I think it would have had the same, if not more, impact if they did the same thing, but instead of seeing the character in full, you just saw the silhouette of the shadow or something like that, where you still don't show him on
like
character.
An imposing figure.
Yeah. So you don't see him on screen, but you see enough of the silhouette or shadow to know it was him.
I think that Sephiroth's iconography has pulled his character out from under the rug, if that makes sense. Because it's like people want to see the long silver hair, the long sword, the big black trench coat. They want that image, because the image of him turning around and walking out of the fire of Nibelheim is like the image from Fantasy VII. So I'm like, I understand it. They want to shove that in as much as possible because it gets eyes on it. But as somebody who values storytelling in a different way, I don't vibe with it the same way. But then I really love Final Fantasy XII story, and a lot of people don't.
Love it.
I love
even if it is
story.
Star Wars.
Well, Star Wars is just 7 samurai.
Yep.
So it's like you can have inspirations that are inspired.
100%. And you just put a wonderful image in my head of that scene that I was just talking about with Sephiroth chasing Cloud through Midgar and Rebirth, but the pixel generated Sephiroth coming out from 7.
Yeah, so you've not gotten far enough in Rebirth for me to explain the reason that Rebirth upset me as much as it has, but you will know why, because it's not related to Rebirth. I cannot stand the existence of Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis.
Okay.
Because there are things that are in that game that shouldn't be. They should be in the main game, if at all. And that's all I'll say on the matter, because otherwise I'm going into spoilers territory. But yeah, no, I love 12 story, and everyone hates that Vaughn is not the main character.
No, Balthier full of Wayne.
Like, no, he's not. It's a different type of storytelling. He is the conduit for which the reader or the viewer is seeing the world.
Yeah,
the main character of Final Fantasy XII is Rabanastre.
Yeah, the actual city itself.
Yeah, well, the continent. Rabanastre is the city. I can't remember the
Ivalice. Dalmasca, yeah.
Dalmasca is the main character. And I love that kind of way which the story is told, because you have to think a little bit about what's going on outside of what you see. Vayne, I think, is a brilliant character because he's not actually evil. He just thinks he's doing the right thing. Well, he's evil at the end.
Yes. But that's what, like, you brought up a good point there about essentially Vaughn being the narrator of the story, which is what he is. It's how it's portrayed at the start. but it has a very, even though the same could be said for Tidus, however you want to pronounce it, I'm not going to get into that argument now.
It's Tidus.
Even though it's the same situation, I feel that 12 is more immersive in doing it than 10 was.
I don't know about that. I think they're just different. Like, I think that 10 is a lot more character driven than 12, whereas 12 is a lot more setting driven.
Yes.
So I feel that they're different. They're done differently. And certainly with video games, when you're taking the role of a character, you want to follow the character. So I understand why people maybe grind against FF12, because it's not done that way. It's done differently. I just really like it. But again, it's like, because I like thinking about what's not on the screen.
Yes.
It all sort of like ties back into what I'm saying about Sephiroth, about what I'm saying about like cutscenes being too long-winded. I think we're at a point with RPGs where we're not encouraged to use our imaginations anymore. And I think that's true of all media, just because of the way that things have gone. It's the Marvel multiverse of it all. So I just, yeah.
Like you were saying, I think in 10 as well, everyone is like, oh, I'm Tidus. This is who I am. In 12, you are very much the party.
You're the onlooker. Yeah. Penelo is kind of a pointless character. I'll give him that. Although I think she could not have been, because she had a really good dynamic with Larsa, who is an important character, and they just didn't go anywhere with it. So I'm wondering if there was a lot of stuff there that should have been there but was cut.
That is, again, it has potential. See, I still need to replay 15 because I played it when it first released. And
yeah, I did too.
Chapter 5, where you go through the tunnel, that ended up being a very disappointing chapter. They put in a lot more extra content in future patches specifically for that chapter, because the feedback, as far as I'm aware, the reason why they did it is because the feedback they got for that chapter was they had to rush it to get the game out. So
15 had a very troubled development.
I'm missing a bunch of the story because I haven't replayed it since I completed it initially.
Royal Edition adds a lot to it, but it had a troubled development from the start. Arthur had a very tumultuous relationship with the company already at that point, from what I remember. Please don't quote me on this. And I know that there was a lot of stuff that was meant for 15 that never quite made it. Like, the DLC episodes didn't sell as well as they were supposed to, so they cancelled a lot of them. And the actual end of the game ended up in a book and not in the game. The Dawn of the Future, I think, is the name of the book, where the villain isn't Arden at all. Again, Arden could have been... I think Arden was a brilliant villain.
Yeah.
That just didn't
quite grasp it.
There. Yeah. Because it was like... Because a lot of people think that, like, oh, Kefka is the only villain that won. No. Arden won. He ruined the world just as much as Kefka did. Put the world into an apocalyptic state for 20 plus years, and while you're sitting in a crystal.
Yeah, that would count as winning.
Yeah. So, like, but he gets stopped and everything. In fact, if anything, he actually won because he got what he wanted in the end. But the story in the book goes a completely different direction. And 15 just feels disjointed. And like, it's one of those games where you can tell it was troubled.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, because I do think it would have been really good. From a gameplay perspective, I think it's too easy because it's hold circle to win or whatever the attack button was.
I mean, I also love Kingsglaive. I thought that was a fantastic film.
I do not agree. I think it was I went and saw that at the cinema.
Okay, I didn't.
Like, before 15 came out, they did like a thing where they showed 15 footage and they played Kingsglaive on the cinema. It was like a one-time showing, and I bought tickets for it for my partner, now my husband, and me. He hates Final Fantasy. I don't know why he bothered coming. But we sat and we watched Kingsglaive, and it was okay. It was a very...
Okay, let's rephrase. It was a dramatic step up from The Spirits Within.
I have fond memories of Spirits Within.
So do I.
For the wrong reasons. I was in college, and I was with the first guy I had a crush on, and we watched that movie, and we got drunk and got waxed philosophical about life, about how the live stream is terrible. It's a bad film. It's a very bad film, but I have fond memories of it.
So, just touching there on villains who win, or mostly they don't. Do you think they don't because people just get dejected playing through a whole game and then not winning? Or are there other games that you can think of within the genre that the villain does win, or maybe you are the villain kind of thing?
Well, the first one that comes to mind with that is Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Like, a lot of people... have you played Tactics Advance?
I have. I haven't completed it, but I don't mind spoilers, so please carry on.
Okay, right. So the whole point of your story in Tactics Advance is that you're trying to get back to the real world.
Yes.
From Evil East, which is in a book. However, to do that, you have to re-cripple your brother, who in the fantasy world is
not
stood
crippled.
On his own two legs, absolutely fine, going out, he's super happy, and you're fighting against your friend who has an alcoholic father, his mother's passed away, but in this fantasy land, he has his family all together. But it's like the whole game is like a reality check. And I think that Tactics Advance is a really interesting game because a lot of people think that you're playing the villain because of that.
Yeah.
Because like in the end, you do go back to reality and things like that. And it's like, I think it's a really interesting dichotomy because I think the people who see that as an act of villainy, I can't obviously like put words in other people's mouths or speak for them, but it comes across as they would rather live in a fantasy world than reality and get past whatever they're going through. And as somebody who's I've had a lot of pretty terrible things happen to me in life, I don't see it that way. I think you do have to get to the end of the story and start a new one. And you have to kind of take life by the horns and deal with the cards you've been dealt. So it's interesting to see what you mean or what you say by like, oh, are there ever a time where you play the villain? Because I think that the best told stories are those where there is no good and evil, there's only point of view.
Yeah, moral choices as well.
Yeah, and I think Tactics Advance is actually a very good one for that. I mean, I still also think that Final Fantasy Tactics, as in War of the Lions, PS1 Tactics, is the best story in any RPG.
Oh, that wasn't, I believe, was that the one that was released or re-released, should I say, on mobile?
Yes,
yeah.
And the port's actually very good. If you haven't played it, it's actually very good. The touchscreen works really well for it.
So outside of Final Fantasy, what are your RPG go-tos? Which series, games?
I love a Dragon Quest. Chrono Trigger. I only played Chrono Trigger for the first time in 2020 because I did a charity event where I wanted to play all of Chrono Trigger in one shot. And I did a 24-hour stream, and it was for the British Red Cross because it was to raise money for mental health awareness over COVID, because I had a really bad time over COVID. I went full hypochondriac, the whole shebang. So I did this charity stream, and I wanted to play a classic game that I'd never gotten to play. So I played Chrono Trigger, and it's now one of, if not my favorite games ever, because it, again, much like we were talking about with Pokemon Gen 1 and 2, timeless.
Yep.
Like, ironically, given it's Chrono Trigger.
Yep.
But it's beautiful. I have not got a bad word to say about that game. Not one. To the point where, like, even talking about it makes me emotional. That's weird. Like, I got a tear come to my eye just talking about Chrono Trigger. That's another one. If they ever remake that, I will be a mess on that floor. It's over. And they're celebrating its 30th anniversary at the minute and talking about all these projects they want to do. They will kill me. If they do anything drastic, it will kill me. The other ones that I really... Oh, World Ends With You.
Yep.
That's a good go-to. Trying to think of other ones now. I like a lot of tactical RPGs, like grid-based tactics games. Like I used to... Did you ever play Onimusha Tactics on the
I
GBA?
have not.
That was actually a surprisingly good one. One of the first Pokemon games I did play, actually, was Pokemon Conquest.
I'm not familiar with that.
I have it on my shelf. Hold on. This one. This is a tactics RPG, grid-based tactical RPG, that is the Pokemon franchise, but set in feudal Japan. So all of the characters that you know, like Nobunaga, Mitsuhide Akechi, all of that, they all have partner Pokemon. And it's really good.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, there's a... Bringing up the Wikipedia page of it, there's the in-game profile of each of the, I'm guessing, the key people, as well as what historical reference they are referencing with that character. And there's a lot.
I think it's really well crafted. I think it's a really well crafted game.
That might have to go on my buy list.
It's good. Should have probably said I'd emulate it if you can. it's like £100. I like Shin Megami Tensei, but I don't like Persona, which people think is weird. Again, gameplay focused, endless cutscenes. A lot of people love Persona. Love that for you. I like SMT. Loved SMT5 Vengeance. Really enjoyed that. I've actually become a really big fan of the Yakuza series.
Yes.
I've just finished the platinum for Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Okay, I have not played that yet.
It's fun. It's not the best one out there.
So I have played all of them with the exception and
the feudal
one and the other one that came out at a similar time. Not the man.
Oh, the man who erased his name.
Not that one. The other one that featured.
If you haven't played that, you need to.
No, I've played that one.
Oh my god, the ending of that game. I mean, yes. I used to be a stone cold person. Never cried at nothing. I swear, in the last few years, I've just become a mess.
Infinite Wealth.
The ending of that game destroyed me.
Yeah, Infinite Wealth is the Like a Dragon one I haven't played yet, so I need to.
We're playing that now. Like, I shouldn't really have played Pirate Yakuza first because it kind of spoils bits of Infinite Wealth, but I wanted to play it. But yeah, we're playing through Infinite Wealth now. I think that those games actually nail something else I really enjoy about what I consider to be a really strong RPG. It's tonal whiplash. Where you're saying that, like, Dragon Quest is also brilliant at this. Where you're like, this is funny, this is light, this is breezy, I'm laughing. Why am I crying now? Dragon Quest XI did that to me 3 times. At 3 different occasions. 2 of them involved Rab.
Like, what I think is absolutely brilliant about the Yakuza games in general is, like, how, like, I know there's going to be twists and turns. It's never going to be the obvious answer. And it's never going to be the obvious plot story. And there's always a twist near, at the end, or both that throws it for a loop. The stories...
It's like a soap opera. Yeah. It's great.
The stories they're dark. They are dark stories. And then
you laugh the whole time.
And then in the next instance, I can be at a disco club trying to impress a fictional Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Tonal whiplash.
Half the content for those games are in the side quests, and I love it.
See, I like some of the side questing. I get tired of it. Eventually, I have to do it in chunks. There's actually a lot of RPGs I haven't played, like the classic ones from our era, because we didn't get a lot of them in the UK. Like, so I'm like now starting to discover some of them. Like I'm pretty sure it did come out in the UK, but I never played it. I've just bought the Suikoden remasters.
Yes,
never played Suikoden.
Neither have I, but they are also on my list.
Yeah, no, I've never played it before, but that's one I'm really picking up on. I played Ayuden Chronicle and I didn't like it.
One of the other ones, again, my back catalogue is fucking ridiculous at this point.
We're gamers. They always are.
But I really want to try Romancing Saga 2, the remake of that's just come out.
That's really good.
Because I have been told that I think it might have been you that was telling me that it does justice to the main story and adds point where there was none previously.
It's really good. Yeah, no, Romancing Saga 2 is really good. I actually have a really cool thing for Romancing Saga 2. I do keep all of these things, but I should display them, and I never do, because I always worry that it comes across like I'm, like, I don't know, look at all this stuff I have, but like,
hello,
I'm doing it. Yeah, like that. But so I did reviews and stuff for Romancing Saga 2, and I was sent this, which is the remake, but it's in like SNES packaging. It's in like Super Nintendo version packaging, so it's like a box that Square Enix had made that's exclusive.
Very nice.
For the Switch version of the game, but it's styled like a SNES game. So I was like, the retro game, the little boy in me is like overjoyed at this. So I've kept it. Yeah. Because that kind of thing is how you get me with sentimentality.
This is one of the things that I like the most out of my collection. It's the collector's edition.
Is that the original 14?
Yep, the collector's edition for the original 14.
The only thing I've got, the only sort of big thing I've got from 14, and again, I actually got this before I started playing 14. So I started playing 14 at the end of Stormblood. So that would have been COVID. COVID is when I started playing it.
Makes sense.
But when I used to do event work for Square, so I used to do event work for them for the TCG and stuff before I actually went to work for them. And I did UK Games Expo with them back in 2018, 2017 or 2018, one of the two. And it was my 30th birthday. And the staff from Square gifted me a Shiva statue from FF14.
Nice.
I didn't know it was a big deal. I had no idea. So I've still got it. I've kept it. It's in that room. It's kind of like it's a reminder to me of like, look, you've got to do some cool stuff in your time, right? So like that's a nice thing. And obviously now I have the Diamond Dust emote and I spam it everywhere I go. But that's the only thing I really think I've got for 14. Oh no, that's not true actually. So FanFest, I had a really interesting experience that I think I may have told you about.
Yes, please feel free to share this.
Right, okay, well, I'm going to go and have to get it first.
Yep.
So I'm a traditional artist, right? So I come from an artistic background, makeup artistry. I used to work at a tattoo shop years ago. Not that you'd know it to look at me, but I'm also a traditional artist. So I have this. This is a drawing that I did, and I went to FanFest for the last one. It was in London, so the one before Dawn Trail came out, and I went as a creator. I had a media pass for it. I was very lucky, got to sit in the front row for the keynote speech, the whole lot, and Hironobu Sakaguchi was there. Now I don't get starstruck by nothing. I don't, but I sat there and I'm like, just watching this man speak, going, if this man weren't here, we'd have none of this. This just wouldn't exist. So I was a little bit like, just not starstruck, but in awe of, and I just like feel with respect for this man. And I would, when I'm in these events and stuff, I like to draw, because it's something that like ties a memory to where I'm at that time. So I was drawing Warrior of Light from the FF14 version, who has my favorite quote in all of Final Fantasy, in all of RPG history, actually. That is The Rains Have Ceased, that one. So I sat there, I was drawing this, and I noticed that there was a crowd of people sort of building up. And I went and I queued up to go and meet Hironobu Sakaguchi with a friend of mine who we got this signed by him. And I was sitting there and sort of watching all these people sort of like accumulating in front of me. And I was like, why is everyone looking at me? Hironobu Sakaguchi is behind me watching me draw. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So he's just picking up the sketchbook and looking at it, and obviously gets to this, and that's his signature that's on there. So there is a piece of paper in the world, this one, that has my signature and his in the same place. And that's like one of my most treasured possessions.
100%. I think that would be for anyone.
It was a very, very cool thing that happened. So now I'm looking at doing a lot of drawing stuff in the future. It's just trying to find the time at the moment. I've done loads of portraits of various Final Fantasy characters. I've actually never drawn a Pokémon before. So what I'm actually looking at doing is I'm trying to tie everything together at the minute, because all of people know me for all these different things, but never in the same place.
Yep.
So I thought, what I might do is I might try drawing Final Fantasy characters with their partner Pokemon. I was actually inspired by this.
That makes sense.
Like Cloud with a Psyduck. Does that make... They both got headaches, it's fine. Aerith with a Floette. Waka with a Voltorb.
Yep.
That kind of thing. Like, 'cause I can think of ideas really quickly. So I'd love to hear from other people if they've got cool pairings that I could draw. Just as a bit of fun. I just thought, I'm not trying to do anything with it. I just want something that I can sit and draw and it'd be fun.
Lulu with a Teddy Ursa.
I could see it. Yeah.
That was what my brain instantly went to.
Vivi with a Chandelure. Actually, Vivi with a Mimikyu. Vivi goes with everything.
Yep.
Actually.
Vivi's just awesome.
Vivi just goes with everything.
So you mentioned you've done a lot of work around TCGs and stuff.
Yes.
Why is it that RPG games and RPGs in general just go so well with TCGs? Like you said, the Final Fantasy sets coming out in Magic.
I think they appeal to a very similar demographic.
Yep. You've obviously got
They like the numbers of it all. They like the deck building aspect of. I can only speak for myself, but the deck building aspect and the party building aspect are very similar. And honestly, it was playing Pokemon this year that kind of clicked. Like I had this epiphany. You're just deck building. But when you're building a party, whether it be Pokemon, Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, whatever you want to play, you're deck building. It's the same thing. And I think that the really good RPGs give you that agency to play your way.
Yes.
And that's very similar to a good card game, where even if there is a correct way to play, you're not punished for not playing that way. Like, I like power, so I'll play whichever way wins. On that bitch, I'll do that. And that's how I guess that's how I've done well in card games in the past. But I think that a lot of people put too much emphasis on balance. If everything was completely balanced, it would be boring. And that, I think, has started to show in modern gaming. Like, you can't have everything be fully balanced. To use fighting game terminology, because I'm a very big fighting game fan as well, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is one of the most celebrated fighting games in history. There are 56 odd characters in that, 8 of which are actually good. So if balance was the most important thing, that wouldn't be true. You know, Smash Bros has the same thing. Smash Bros is loved by everybody. It's not balanced in any way, shape, or form. Final Fantasy VIII, not balanced. Fun because of it. FF2, like you said earlier, like there's loads of really good examples of RPGs. I mean, crikey, Golden Sun. Golden Sun's not balanced. It's not supposed to be. And I think that like just having that agency to allow you to play whichever way you want. And by that, I mean, if you want to play with power, play with power. If you want to sort of like shoot yourself in the foot and make things harder for yourself, you can do that too. And that reminds me of one of my favorite RPGs that I hadn't mentioned until now, Bravely Default.
Yes.
Bravely Default. I want more RPGs to be like that. And I actually think that that game kind of revived JRPGs to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Because that was in the days where like the PS3 era was in, and it's like it was sloughing. Like you had your Last Remnants, your Infinite Undiscoveries, no one really cared. And then Bravely Default comes out, and it's like, this is just Final Fantasy with another name. Love it. More of that, please.
So, with regards to TCGs, do you think they transition well into actual games as well, like video games? Obviously, there's a wealth of Yu-Gi-Oh games, and none of them have quite hit the mark. But
well, that's because Yu-Gi-Oh is a bad game. Sorry,
but there is undying love for Pokemon TCG RPG game.
The Game Boy Color
Game Boy game. I don't know why I said RPG.
I've got it. I've not played it yet. But so many people I know are saying, you've got to play it.
It is fantastic. And
I've got the cartridge sitting on my shelf. I just haven't played it yet.
I still have the music ringing through my ears for that game. It is amazing.
So many people I know love that game. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm very upset they didn't do another one.
But they did. There is a second one. It's just Japan only. But there are
that explains that.
translated versions of it that you can play. There actually is a second one.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. Like I said, when I start doing research on these things, I go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, man, that makes sense.
Yeah, but do TCGs translate well into video games? I mean, did you play Triple Triad?
I love Triple Triad.
Did you play Tetramaster?
Yes.
You shouldn't.
So the...
How much time in Rebirth have you spent playing Queen's Blood?
Every time I find someone.
But that's your own question then, isn't it?
With Tetramaster, that was included as a secondary game in Final Fantasy XI.
Why that one?
So not actually in the game itself. It was a game that they put included with the subscription that you could play with your friends you had added to your friends list whilst the servers were in maintenance. It was a completely separate entity.
Wow. That's quite cool, actually.
It really was.
See, I've played 11, but I played it too late. And
yes.
I only played it, in all fairness, I only played it because it is literally the only Final Fantasy game I hadn't played. So I thought, I'll give it a go. I just couldn't get my head around it. I played it for a good 20 hours, something like that, which is not enough for an MMO, let's be real.
No, we will get into some discussions of that off camera, I think.
when you're playing it by yourself, I would love someone to show me 11 properly. I would love someone to show it to me.
I got you back.
Because when you're trying to navigate a game like that, 20 years later, it's a mess.
Yes.
But I wish I'd played it when it came out because it's a beautiful mess.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Like,
Yes.
it's like, to discover those things amongst other people is exactly what I was talking about the entire time.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a game. Let it be a game.
So I first played 11 was my first proper MMORPG. I played other ones like free ones, browser-based ones, all that, but 11 was my first subscription-based MMO.
So 14 is my one and
RPG,
only one.
and a friend got me into it. We had similar interests. He said, "You like Final Fantasy? You've played them all. Try this out." So we got me signed in, all that sort of stuff. And I remember just the scope of it blew my mind. Like leaving the starting city, and in hindsight, I don't know how I got lost. Because all I did was essentially walk forward, go up a hill, and then he had to go. And I was like, this place is huge. Where the fuck am I?
I can't deal with that at all. I like linearity in games. I'm weird. If you put me in you can give me the Dark Souls level challenge and I'll do it. I love Souls games. I like to be challenged by video games. I'm a Ninja Gaiden fan. But you plop me in a world and tell go, I'll be like, go where? I can't deal with being lost. I hate it. So I'm like, to play a game like 11, I would need guidance.
Well, I'm sure we can get around to that.
I'll hold you to that.
Not a problem at all. Oh man, yeah.
I have tried to get into it a couple of times, but I think I just got there too late.
Yep. Yeah.
I love the characters. I would have loved to have experienced Promathia when it first came out. I'd have loved to have seen the Celtius arc and all that. See, I know the story.
You do.
I know the story. Lion, I think she's a really cool character.
Yes. Yep.
She was more from her.
She was many people's pining when that game came out. She was the
right.
Yeah, because
we're going to that place.
I think what it was is whereas most of the other NPCs had very similar character models to what you could create as a player character, she was one of the ones that had very different. She had a very unique character model.
Okay.
It was
so she stood out.
Yeah, and obviously intentionally, but no one else did up to the point in the game where she was introduced. She had very unique clothes. She had hair that stood out that wasn't usable by any players, but a lot of the other NPCs, they didn't stand out for that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the ones that I can think of from the time I spent with it that did, because you could explore any of the expansions in any order, which was really overwhelming. Now, which for somebody who hadn't played it, I'm like, oh god, what do I do? I unlocked Samurai quite early.
Yeah, so that's that must be new. Because whilst you could do them in any order, you also couldn't because of
that's what I mean.
Because of levels.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. You plop someone in the middle of the world like that and tell them, "Oh, off you go." It's like, what? I ain't got a clue. Ayame, I thought was cool.
Yes,
I liked her, and I hate that I know the ending. Like how it ends and how she addresses the player at the end and stuff. I hate that I know that because I wish I didn't. I wish I'd gotten to experience it at the time.
But you know her 90%, this is right. If it's not, I'm going to edit it out. Is it her tie-in in 14 as well?
Yeah, she does have one. I mean, I discover a lot of the characters through the TCG, the mobile titles, and the spin-off stuff. So then whenever I see a character that I hadn't experienced, have you played any of the Crystal Chronicles games?
I picked it up with the intention to play the new one, the remake, and
play that one.
I just haven't played it.
Yeah, don't play that one. That one's bad. Again, fun fact, I did a review of that game before it had been released, and
yeah,
I didn't know the multiplayer was broken because I had a review copy of it. So I was just playing it by myself because that's all I could do. And I'm like, yep, it's just like the original. And then obviously it comes out and it's broken and it doesn't work properly with a multiplayer. And I look like an idiot. So I'm like, brilliant. Love that. But the point I'm getting at is the Crystal Bearers,
yes,
the one that was released for the Wii.
Yes,
That's
fantastic.
got some really cool characters in it, and it's got a fantastic intro.
That also has a fantastic soundtrack.
The zoo ambush, which is the opening track to that game, is phenomenal.
So I just remember I was listening to the soundtracks on Spotify, and this one came up, and it was just like this is awesome. I can't
Which
remember.
one?
I want to say Pioneer something.
I think I know the one. Have you ever been to Distant Worlds?
I have not. I've got a bunch of my friends going to the one that's about to happen.
Oh, the 14-16 one.
Yeah.
I haven't gone. I don't think I'm going to this one because I've been to too many. Yeah, no, I've done 4, and I've done 2 of the piano concerts, which are really lovely as well. If you Crystalline something, it's a piano concert, or like held with like a quarter orchestra at Royal Cadogan Hall.
Pioneer Spirit. Sorry, I've just looked it up.
Yes, I do know that one. I think that's Kais's theme, possibly.
If it helps, because I haven't actually played that one, the Japanese title translates roughly to Eastern Wildlands.
Oh, okay, it's one of the overworld themes. Yeah, I never finished it. I never finished Crystal Bearers because it's not a very good game. But it's got some really lovely quality to it. Like, the characters are really cool, and the music is amazing. In terms of soundtrack, you can't beat 8.
No.
I think 8 has the overall best soundtrack out of all
Yes.
of them.
I very much associate soundtracks with gaming memories.
I do too. I think music is very powerful.
Yes,
very powerful.
And it is something I would like to get someone on the podcast to discuss about that. But so whenever someone mentions 8, before I even get sort of some form of image in my head, I get Blue Fields playing through my head.
Blue Fields, yeah. See, for me, it's the ending theme.
Yep.
It's the reprise of
Alan
Fatale.
Ah, yes. Then, and it's not a gaming theme, but it just goes to show how much I associate games with music, is when it must have been 99 or 2000 Christmas. Can't remember which one it was, but it was the year Linkin Park with Hybrid Theory came out.
Right.
I got the Hybrid Theory CD for Christmas. Just before Christmas, I had rented Digimon World from Blockbuster when that used to exist.
That game is the only experience I have with the Digimon franchise. Never seen an episode of the TV show. Couldn't tell you any of their names, but I've played that game.
Yep. So I remember putting Digimon World on my little tiny TV,
my little 60RT TV in your room,
in my bedroom. I had the game on mute, and I had Hybrid Theory on repeat, and I must have been there for the rest of the day.
See, funnily enough, I'm not a Linkin Park or metal or that kind of person, but I'm trying to think of like music that would have influenced me back then.
But yeah, no, it just goes to show.
No, I was very into a lot of like video game soundtracks.
Yeah, but it goes to it doesn't matter what it is, that the association between music and not necessarily video games, but music and memories is very ingrained in or at least in my head.
Yeah, well, I think it is for a lot of people, and I think it all comes back to what I was saying about telling a story without telling a story.
Yeah.
I think the power in the conjuring of an image is what a lot of these games don't seem to get. It's like, when you think of Final Fantasy VII, we've already mentioned it once, you think of Sephiroth turning around in the fires in Nibelheim. Make more like that. Stop trying to force the same image down our throats. Make a new one. Make something that we didn't know we wanted. Like, so it's the same as like whenever one of these directs or state of plays or these showcases come out with new games, everyone always says, "Oh, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want?" And then my answer is always the same. It's something I didn't know I wanted.
Yes.
It's always the same. It's like, yeah, of course it'd be nice to see like FF9 remake, Chrono Trigger remake, but I want something I didn't know I needed until I see it.
Yep, no, 100% agree with that. And just touching on video games telling stories through video games, I know there's the story is a term used very loosely here. Pokemon doesn't have a single cutscene, really.
Yeah. No, not really. It has lines of dialogue, but not really. Although the later games, I think, do.
Yes.
Like not hugely long ones, but I am playing Pokemon for its story.
No.
A lot of people do, though, and that's valid. Like,
Well,
I mean, I find it hard to take it seriously, taking a story into account that says this Pokemon goes up to 50,000 degrees Celsius.
Yes.
It's like, sure.
Have you played, I think we've talked about this briefly, and I can't remember the answer, so forgive me. Have you played Gale of Darkness on the GameCube?
No, but I have it, so I'm going to play it.
Now, that is a game you will play the story for without even knowing.
Okay, see, sure.
Yeah.
As long as it's not 80% cutscene.
No,
that's fine then.
But
I want to play that because apparently it's difficult.
It is difficult, and it has a story.
Genuinely difficult.
To put it into perspective, you should probably play Colosseum first if you haven't.
Well, I've got the two GameCube discs up there because I'm really funny. I try to avoid emulation if I can help it because I don't like to do it. Again, maybe I'm weird, but because I go down the rabbit hole with all like retro handhelds, so I have that emulators and stuff. I love all the retro handheld stuff. I'm a big person for handheld gaming in general. But if I'm gonna play a game, I want to feel like there's an impetus for me to play it. So, like, if you give me a list of 500 games, I'll sit there and stare at the list for 20 minutes and go, oh, I don't know what to play, and then put it down. And then, like, whereas if I'm holding the game in my hand, I'm like, I want to play this. But again, old.
Yeah.
I think like we've had that experience. People half our age, they've grown up in this digital era.
So
they don't have the same level of tangibility that we have.
Yeah, through force of habit, I keep on buying disc editions consoles, even though over half of what I put on them is digital.
Me too. I've done it as well. My PlayStation
and
it's got a disc drive on
I'll get a disc edition just in case.
I mean, I do still buy physical games when I can. Like the Suikoden remasters I bought physical.
I don't think unless they stop making disc drives and whatever disc drives are going to evolve into, I will never not buy a physical edition of a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, I like owning a product.
Yes.
I like having it in my hand. I like being excited to take it out of the wrapper and open and actually have a thing in my hand.
And like I said, with physical editions, you own that. With a digital edition, you only own the license.
Yeah, they could just gone.
Yep.
Whenever they want. And I hate that.
Yep.
Although I didn't realise, speaking of physical editions, did you get the collector's edition of the Pixel remasters?
I do not have that. My brother has that.
I do, and I kept it in its box and everything because Square very kindly sent me a code for the digital version. So I thought, oh well, okay, I
keep the box sealed. Yeah, makes sense.
Have you seen what people are buying that for?
No.
It's wild. It's like, I mean, I don't want to sell it, so I'm not going to say
no. 100%. That was
I have no interest in selling it. It's mine. I'm keeping it.
100%.
But it's one of those things. I'm like, oh my god, like arbitrary value though.
Getting into the value of things that surpasses the production cost.
Blows my mind. Oh, don't even. That is why I stopped playing trading cards. I haven't played a TCG in over 8 years until recently.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped because people made it all about money. Bear in mind that I worked at a card store for a long time. I was in that transition period where I heard people saying, cracking a booster pack, Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
I got this card I wanted. Great. Love that. Walk away and they're happy. A couple of years later, it stopped being that and it started being cracked pack. I pulled this card worth X amount of money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a different statement. That I don't like. And then you get people with their folders going around going, what do you value this at? And I'm like, I value it what it's worth. Stop trying to mug me off.
Yeah.
And just seeing this weird stock market develop. And honestly, like in the last few months, now that I'm sort of like deep diving the Pokemon route,
it's nuts.
Insane. Like to the point where it makes me not want to play the card game. However, I came into like realizing this. You can build a top tier competitive world's level Pokemon deck for 30 quid. As long as you don't care about it being super shiny, full art, whatever.
No, because
then the players aren't the people that make it worth that amount of money.
No.
It's the collectors that do.
Yes.
But like there was a set that came out, I think it was last month, that's like Eevee focused. Most overrated Pokemon ever, but moving on. There's an Umbreon or something in there that's a full art Umbreon. It is £1,500. Base version of it is £5. The only difference on it is its rarity.
Yep.
That is the only difference, is that like the art is different and the rarity is different. And what I've tried to explain to people, it's the artist does not benefit from you spending £1,500.
No.
Speaking as someone who has done art myself for years, the artist doesn't care how much you spend on a print of their card. They're not making profit off that.
No. They've made their money.
They're sitting there going, well, where's my bit?
Yeah.
You know? And I don't understand this mentality of like spending all this money on something to say, look at this thing I have. I'm like, your ability to spend money does not impress me. Show me what you do with it. Maybe that makes me a jaded
No.
git.
No, it's like
I open packs to play the game. I do not play the game to open packs.
Yes. But it's
I
like
want a game, not a bragging right.
makes perfect sense. I mean,
if you put two people next to each other in any competitive environment, and you have the guy that spent the most money on their deck, loadout, whatever, and the person that won the event, I know which one I'm talking to.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, because that person I can learn something from. That person has experience that I can gain something from. I like to learn from people through their experiences. The conversation with the other person is, I bought this thing for a load of money, or I pulled this thing worth loads of money. And then I'm like, yeah, then what? And it was the same with the gacha games, because I used to do a lot of coverage for Dissidia Opera Omnia.
Yep.
Which was the thing that blew my YouTube channel up to begin with. And every stream, and I had 200 people in those streams. They'd be there for 5 minutes because they'd come in, they'd ask 2 questions. Did you pull for this thing? How much did it cost you? And then they'd leave. So I was like, that's depressing, because I would spend all this effort working out what the character did, what the weapons did, where they were useful, how to beat the boss that came with them, all of that stuff. But no one cared. People would just be like, oh yeah, but how much did it cost you though? And I'm like, why does that matter? Why do you care how much somebody spends on something? It's none of your business.
Yeah. Well, in that same vein, and you'll appreciate this as someone that likes fighting games, why? I know why. It's a business decision and it makes perfect sense. But why did games being about unlocking things and start become about buying things? I remember playing Tekken 3. If I wanted
a twofold reason for that.
I wanted all the characters, so I've got to play as the other characters to unlock those characters. I didn't have to buy a DLC. I didn't have to buy a second disc. I didn't have to buy a subscription. I had to work for it.
The trouble is the fighting game community is very split. Like, not so much now because one half of it doesn't really exist anymore. But the casual crowd loves that kind of thing. And the competitive crowd hates it. They want to be able to just play everyone from the beginning. So because fighting games developed into an esport, if you go to an event, does that mean that every copy of those games then has to like go through the game and unlock all of those characters just in case somebody wants to play one of them?
A lot of them...
Yeah, I agree with you for what it's worth. I think you could easily put a dev code in there to unlock everything. I agree with you for what it's worth, but that is, I think, a part of it. And obviously, in this day and age where everything is live service and the most important KPI for a lot of video games is player retention, you got to keep people interested.
When it comes to DLCs, not by all means, not all developers, but there's a few that you feel like they're releasing the game, you're buying the game, but then stuff that should have been in the game to start off with is being sold as a DLC.
That's the problem. And there's definitely multiple sides to it. It's like, where's the line between we're adding something to an already completed product to we're being shady by releasing 75% of a product and then adding the other 25% in later? It's a case-by-case thing. Like, there's no way that you can really gauge it.
If there is...
You just have to take it.
Yeah.
Each case-by-case context, I guess.
For example, Final Fantasy 16, that game was released full. You got closure at the end of the game. Like, the story had pretty much completed. The DLC was an addition. Just that. It was an addition to the game. It wasn't part of the game that had already been completed. It's extra content.
But I'm sure there are people out there that think that should have been there from the start, because Leviathan is a big thing for like gameplay purposes at the very least. Like, there are unlockable things that you wouldn't have had otherwise. There's also stuff in the game that is not explained very well even after the DLC that people wanted. Like, people wanted to see more from Jill, for example, and if they had made a DLC that was around Jill, would people complain that that should have been there from the start? It's just such a gray area, but it's just the world we live in now. Like, it, unfortunately, because we're of the age where we didn't have that. But in fighting game terms, you did also have to buy Street Fighter 2 like 4 times if you wanted to play everything as it came out.
Yes.
You had Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2
Turbo,
Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition, Super Street Fighter 2. It's the same thing, just with a different coat of paint. And unfortunately, a lot of companies are taking advantage of that because they know people will buy it.
Yep.
There was a thing, it was a while back where I think it was a Blizzard dev that said that they'd worked on StarCraft 2 for ages and then realized that they made more money off of a mount for WoW than the entirety of StarCraft, and then they quit over it. Because the problem is like, we can be all altruistic about these things, but people want to spend their money on the easy thing. That's why they do it. It's the same with anything in these kinds of industries. It's like, if you're extremist about it, it's going to get more attention than if it's mundane.
Oh, 100%. And like, at the end of the day, it is a business and they are there to make money.
Yeah. And I do also think that a lot of people forget that. I think a lot of people think that these companies are their friends. And it's like, no, darling. Like, it would be lovely if the world was all sunshine and rainbows, but really, that's not the hill you want to be dying on if we're talking about world peace.
No, they charge me too much for a skin.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, so don't buy it then.
Yeah, well, that's my take. If there are add-ons, in-game shops or whatever, in my opinion, they should just be cosmetic, because people would still pay through the nose for it, and it doesn't detract from anyone else's gameplay.
I think there are examples of DLC that are really strong. Integrate?
Yes.
Should that have just been there from the start? Because I don't think they could.
I don't know if that's because it wasn't developed yet, but...
A lot worse, because you have 2 choices at that point. They either release it as DLC later, or you wait another year for the game.
But I believe they also made it... Did they also make it free for certain editions?
Possibly, yeah. But I use it as an example of, like, there are DLCs that aren't shady. They're not like that. But there are enough of them that are.
That it puts a bad name on everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I agree with you 100%, but it's the same as anything in life where, yeah, something can be done for a good reason, but that good reason can get warped really easily, and they're the things that people will focus on.
Yeah, well, that's the same in most cases, no matter what the subject. But yeah, man, so that's just a minefield to get into. Is
I think that's a good place to leave that.
In-game purchases. Fair. Yeah, so I have just a couple more questions for you. I say that, just one before you go into a little bit more about you. Okay. So this is going to be something that I asked to everyone on the podcast.
Okay.
And I've got Rin's answer, obviously. I've got another answer, and they vary greatly. So I'd like to see where you fall in this. If you could take an NPC out from a game on like a date for a real world activity, just to caveat, this can be a real world activity or an activity from the game world they're in. Who would you take out for that activity, and what would that activity be?
Balthier for a drink. Easy.
Yep.
That guy's got stories to tell.
He does. Hear him. Now, would you go for a drink in Ivalice, or would you bring him to an English pub?
Yes.
An English pub in Ivalice.
Yes.
Man, that
I want to see that bar brawl kick off. Easy. No questions asked. Balthier.
Fantastic answer.
If Fran wants to tag along, she's welcome.
Don't disagree with that in the slightest.
Yeah, she's cool.
But yeah, so if you just want to maybe tell the peoples where they can find you, again, all links will be included in the description below.
Yeah, no, lovely. So I'm Joesephyr. I'm the same on everything. So YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. It's Twitter.
It's still Twitter to me.
Let's be real. I'm the same name on everything. I also do have an art store as well on Etsy if anyone wants to have a look at video game portraits that I've made. That's all in my links as well. And if anyone wants to find me, then by all means, feel free to come do so, because I'm happy to talk to anyone and everyone.
Fantastic. Well, a huge thanks to Joesephyr for joining me today. It's not every day you get to talk RPGs with someone who can deep dive genre mechanics and still get emotionally attached to a level 3 Pidgey. Whether you're a seasoned adventurer or you've just been here for the chaos of someone discovering Magikarps don't actually do much, we hope you enjoyed the ride today. Next time, I'm going to be joined by Grimsaber, who's a creator who is not actually an RPG creator. He is an anime and manga creator. So we are going to touch on the influence of anime and manga on RPGs and vice versa, because there's a lot of crossover there, and it's going to be something not usual that we're diving into. If you want to keep the party going, follow the show, leave a review, and tell your friends we're not just another fetch quest. Come hang out in the Tavern Discord, where all conversations are lively, memes are cursed, and we're always hoarding potions we're never going to use, because let's be honest, we all do that. And of course, once again,
what you're about.
A big thanks to Joesephyr. You'll find all his links in the description below, right where the loot usually drops. And for now, we have reached our save point. See you next time, and remember, every great adventure starts with a side quest.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.